This video defines local and global groups and explains how they are used in single and multiple domain networks. A group is a collection of user accounts. Giving a user account membership in a group gives that user all the rights and permissions granted to the group. Groups simplify administration by providing an easy way to grant rights and permissions to multiple users at one time. For example, if several users need to read a file, their user accounts are added to a group. The permission to read is assigned just once rather than to each user. There are two types of groups, local and global. Let's begin by looking at local groups. Local groups are used to provide users with permission to access a resource, such as a printer or file. They are also used to provide users with rights to perform system tasks, such as changing the time on a computer. A local group must reside in the directory database of the local computer. For example, if you create a local group on a member server or a computer running Windows NT Workstation, it can only be assigned to resources on the local computer. However, if you create a local group on a primary domain controller, or PDC, it can be assigned to resources on any domain controller within the domain, because domain controllers maintain the same directory database. Once you assign a group permission to a resource, all user accounts added to the group automatically have permission to access the resource. Next, let's look at global groups. Global groups are used to organize domain user accounts, for example, by job function or geographical location. They are useful in single domain networks with many users and in multiple domain networks when users from one domain need to access resources in another domain. Global groups are always created on the PDC in the domain where the account resides. A global group cannot contain user accounts from a different domain. To give global group members access to a resource, add the global group to the local group where the resource is located. The local group can be located in any domain with the appropriate trust relationship. Now, let's look at an example of how you can implement local and global groups in a multiple domain network. Let's say you have a color printer in one domain that you want the sales personnel from both domains to use. To accomplish this, first create a global group in each domain and add the user accounts for the sales personnel. Next, create a local group and add the global groups from both domains to the local group. Then, assign the appropriate permissions for the printer to the local group. Because the printer is attached to a domain controller, the group is created on the PDC of the domain where the printer is located. All sales personnel now have access to the color printer. If the printer were attached to a member server or to a computer running Windows NT Workstation, the local group must be created on that computer. To review, a group is a collection of user accounts. Groups simplify administration by providing an easy way to grant rights and permissions to multiple users at one time. Local groups are used to manage access to resources. If a local group is created on a member server or a computer running Windows NT Workstation, it can only be assigned to resources on the local computer. If a local group is created on a PDC, it can be assigned to resources on any domain controller in the domain. Global groups are used to organize domain user accounts. They provide a way to give users in one domain access to resources in another domain. Global groups are always created on the PDC. They cannot contain user accounts from a different domain. To give global group members access to a resource, the global group is added to the local group where the resource is located.